The Odoo webinar series was created to educate entrepreneurs and business owners on the benefits of process documentation, and as well as automating your processes and your operations using enterprise resource planning software. Now, the Odoo software is an enterprise resource planning software that helps businesses to automate and streamline their operations in order to boost productivity and boost efficiency. You'll be learning more about this as we proceed in the webinar. So that we don't take further time, I will just be introducing our speakers. We have very seasoned speakers with us today, and they'll be sharing their wealth of experience and their wealth of knowledge on business automation and the Odoo webinar and the Odoo Enterprise Resource Planning software. On our speaker list today, we have the very delectable Mr. Chiagozie Nwizu. He is the MD and the CEO of Franchise Business Development Services Nigeria. He has extensive knowledge on process documentation. He's going to be taking us through process documentation today, and the importance of documenting your processes. Why should you document your processes? What are the benefits accrued to documenting your processes? We also have Mr. Emako Obaro, who is a seasoned Odoo consultant. He is also going to be taking us through the benefit of business automation, what business automation is all about, and he's also going to be presenting a free demo for everyone here, just so that you can have an experience and have a feel of what the Odoo software is like and what you can do for your business. So without further ado, we are just going to call up Mr. Chiagozie Nwizu. Mr. Chiagozie Nwizu, you are very welcome to the Odoo webinar series. We are very, very, very glad to have you here. It's always a delight to hear you speak. So we're just going to hand over the mic to you right now while we listen to you speak.
Thank you very much, the delectable Judith, for introducing me to the webinar. Hello there to all of you, our guests. We really welcome you, and we are excited to have you in our space today to discuss something very, very critical that would help your business growth, your business sustainability, your business expansion. Just before I begin to talk about this, please, I'd like to have you guys that are there, because this is going to be an interactive session. If you don't mind just using the chat button to tell us a bit about yourself, tell us where are you participating from, what part of the country, what business do you do? Today we're going to be focusing on restaurant, quick service restaurant businesses. But of course, if you are not running a food business, you are very much welcome. The solution we are introducing today covers every type of known business, except that because they are just too versatile, we thought that today we could, touch more on food business. So please use the chat. Let us know where you are participating from. If you don't mind telling us your name, where you're participating from, what sector you operate in, I mean, the type of business you run. It will really, really help. I don't mind, I would like to see your name, call out your name and recognize you and welcome you. Okay, so while you are at that, I will quickly proceed to my bit of introduction and share some information with you. So, we are organization Franchise Business Development Services. Yes, Grace, I can see you. Grace, thank you so much. Great. Food processing business. That's a very good one. Happy to have you here. Wow, somebody from Europe, Oscar. Thank you for joining our space. Thank you so much. All right, thank you really for obliging and sharing that information. I'll proceed. At Franchise Business Development Services, just to let you know why we decided to hold this, we'll be holding this webinar series. We are an organization, we are a business that is into franchise development. Essentially, we help entrepreneurs whose businesses have come to the point of expansion, of scale and expansion, to to replicate their business model so that they can rapidly achieve their expansion goal. And in so doing, they can also, while they are dominating locally, they can also compete globally, But in the process of engaging businesses, we realize that, so what we do, we realize that in all of the years we've been helping businesses to launch as franchisees, to expand. Part of what we do is that we create SOPs, we create training manuals, so the businesses are able to have documented information, and they are able to also, have a guideline to train people. Because if you're expanding, a big challenge you have as an expanding business becomes, how do you have the new partners, whether partners as employees or partners as investors or and otherwise? How do you share your vision? How do you help them understand their roles? How do you help them understand what your goals are, your business model? As you keep growing and expanding, you will agree with me, you there, the entrepreneur, that you begin to have a challenge of maintaining the standards that help you to achieve your goal. Your business has been able to navigate a learning curve, peaks and valleys of success and failures. You've had to, make a lot of mistakes and learn from your mistakes, and, it becomes paramount to you that the things that you have learned, the things you've proven as a business on how it works, how you are able to, you've probably proven how to market. You've marketed the wrong way and failed. You have managed people the wrong way and failed. You've had all sort of crises and you barely made it as an established business. When you come there, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where, as you're expanding, either at the same location by growing in terms of workforce, as you're expanding in terms of the territories where you're offering services of your products, right, and your services, as you're expanding into new territories, even abroad, you begin to realize that mistakes you've made and you've been able to know how to get them right, that you begin to deal with them at those locations because you cannot be there to micromanage people. You see that? So it is a very, very important thing it doesn't matter where you are today in the cycle of your business growth, whether you are just starting up, whether you are even still writing your business plan, or whether you are still growing your market, or whether you are at the point of establishment and expansion. Wherever you are at, this information is very, very critical to you, because what it takes to build a successful business in Nigeria is a lot of hard work. And you don't want to learn from your mistakes, build all these things, and you realize that expansion, that anytime you venture out, right, you have to deal with people you have to bring in as employees, as investors, as partners. Maybe you want to franchise or you want to go into distributorship. You realize that the people cannot continue with the legacy, with the quality of products, of services, the value that you are known for. Complaints are coming here and there. It is like, it's a torture for a business owner to go through that. So because of that, because we've seen how much process documentation has become very important, that is one part. We even realized, very interestingly, wait there, documenting your process, having a training school, a training system, inducting your employees, all these things are very good. But we've also found out that even when you've done that, there are still some missing links that people can still wake up, maybe because of the way you've done your training. The training didn't do a very good work, and naturally human beings just like to explore. People just like to wake up and do things differently. Especially in Nigeria, we feel like we've lost our human nature. Are these people trying to turn me into a robot? And every day I'm doing the same thing the same way. That very employee or that individual might not really understand how the role, that consistency that the person is bringing, how it helps to achieve the larger business goal. And the person decides one day to do it in a different way. That doing it in a different way could affect different things. It can affect the reputation of the business you built. In this age of social media, you can't afford to make certain mistakes. People will take you to the cleaners, and that is the death of your business. right? So we realize that even with all the process thing and all that, that there's one major, very critical thing. That thing is business process automation. That process you have, that you are able to automate it so that you can bring in controls with technology. Technology would literally, in some cases, we see it bringing in the standardization. It brings up to 70% value, where people can't just do things the way they want to do, whether by mistake or by error, or whatever, because the technology is automation constrains them. If you want to scale and grow your business, you must really pay attention to see that you have your processes right, and that you see that you have ERPs, tools, technology solutions for automating your process so that it is very easy and scalable. All right. So I'll use just another 5 minutes and tell you what process documentation is all about, because I have a gentleman here who is going to be taking over, who is an expert with the very best technology solution for businesses that there is in the world, not even in Nigeria. That is the one he's going to be introducing. So what is process documentation? Process documentation is a process of recording and documenting, the entire proven ways, processes and systems of getting things done in a particular business, right? And, documenting them and recording them, right, for the purpose of becoming a reference point that is going to, spearhead consistency, standardization to continue, especially when you've proven your result, to continue getting the same results that you have been able to, know how to get right. Now, I'll quickly tell you what are the benefits that you will get from, documenting your process. So the first benefit there is the benefit of consistency and standardization. Have you wondered why franchise businesses, if actually you are familiar with one, do you know that Chicken Republic is a franchise? I know some of us know, but I just want to rub it in. Imagine that the whole Chicken Republic you've been going to eat at, right, that their outlets, do you know they are owned by different people? It's not all of them that are owned by the the food concept that you know about. Some of them are owned by different people, yet if you walk into all of them, your whole 5 senses will be able to give you the same result. What you smell, what you see, what you touch, the layout, the floor plan, the furniture, the quality of the food, all of them, they are the same thing everywhere. Any business that is expanding and that thing that it has proven that its customers like, it is not able to consistently, replicate those things, that business is not going anywhere. It's going to have a reverse. Don't even bother trying to expand if you're not able to have these things documented in a way that you can transfer that knowledge both to the team, or maybe even an investor who tomorrow might become your distributor or your franchisee. Second reason why you want to document your process is that it reduces operational costs. Think about the cost of making mistakes. Think about the cost of teaching people things all of the time. Think about the cost of micromanaging, that you can't be other places and do things, that you want to do, because you just have to be there and show people the way it is done all over and all over and all over again. There is a lot of cost, either in mistakes or in the quality of time that people would have used to do other things, in trying to keep getting things right. So there's a lot of inefficiency in processes that can be revamped and corrected, if your process is documented. Then there's also the mitigation of risks. The ability to prove that operation meets compliance and regulation is very important. Every business I know today, there is some sort of regulation or the other that is involved, especially for food businesses. The two most regulated types of businesses are businesses operating in the medical space and the food businesses. Why? Because they are related to health, because health is life, is a matter of life and death. So for those of you that are here in food businesses, process documentation means you saving yourself from risks that may not even shut down your business, but risks that can take you to jail, risks that can get you paying heavy fines. You know, things like food poisoning, you know, expired products, all sorts of things that could go wrong, right? The fourth one is support for the employee engagement and performance. If you are going to be hiring people and you don't have processes like a flow chart of what they need to do, their job descriptions and all of those very details well documented, you are probably going to have some good people who can deliver good results, and they end out performing like they are bad employees, right? So, you know, for you to help your people to be able to perform very well, to bring out the best in them, you know, for you to be able to manage their performance, manage the work that they do, know when they've done it right and when they've not done it right, and all of that, right? You need to document your process. The fifth one is simplifying training. How do you train people if there is no basis, if there's no process that is documented that shows in a user-friendly guide on how people can navigate their work, how they need to play their role, what they should do and what they should not do, what are the values of the organization, you know, even helping them to understand what contribution they make to the business. It is very important. The sixth one is stress-free outsourcing. You know, you are going to keep realizing that there is need to outsource one thing or the other. Your business has to be plug and play, especially if you want to move fast and scale fast. Your business has to be very, very plug and play. You need to be able to make it easy for you to, you can't hire people for everything. As a growing business, you need to hire, for example, people that are going to come and do digital content, marketing stuff for you. You know, there are different things you want to outsource, which are not your areas of core competence, and they do not consist in the bulk of the business activities that you do. You need to document your process so that those guys, you can easily communicate what is important to you, your goals, your values, how they have to relate in what they do with the rest of the organization and the teams is very important. The seventh one is very critical, retaining process knowledge and business continuity. What happens in a situation where you see, the same way a business owner, if the business owner does not structure his business very well and document it, and he goes to hospital, I don't want to use death. None of us here wants to die, so I won't use that as an example. But you know, somebody falls sick for 1 week, business will pack up, and follow the person and go to hospital. Why? Because the rest of the team don't know what to do. They don't have a sense of direction. See, one thing I've noticed about entrepreneurs in Nigeria is that business owners, you know, have so much of process knowledge in their heads. Too much you are carrying in your head. You know, what process experts help you to do is that they help you to unbundle those things on your head and put it in documents so that you can be anywhere you want to be, go on vacation, you know, and be able to have your life, you know. So consistency can happen. Finally, very finally, is that you can have what you call your trade secrets, you know, documented. It is very critical. You know, when you hear that businesses have are able to, you know, go to what's the word? Their intellectual property to secure it, you know, their trade secrets, or you know, to protect it. If they don't have it documented, there's no way they will be able to protect that. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that. In the process of interaction, we will talk some more. Now, I'd like to yield back to Judith to introduce Mr. Obaro to talk to us about if when we have created process documentation, how exactly would Odoo help us to create automation, riding on the processes that we've already documented, so that we can run a fail-proof and a foolproof, you know, foolproof business. All right, thank you very much, Judith. Okay, it appears that all right. It appears that there's a problem with our network. Okay, so I can just go ahead and introduce Mr. Obaro. Mr. Obaro, you have the floor, please. Over to you.
Great, thank you very much, Chiagozie. Good morning, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us. My name is Obaro, and I will just be sharing with everyone, you know, basic things around business automation and how a system like Odoo helps, you know, to automate business processes. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen, and just let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, it's up now. If you want to zoom in on the slide. All right, good. Yeah, you are muted, Obaro. You are muted. Please unmute.
Apologies for that. I'd already started talking away. All right. So I was trying to say that in terms of this series, we will just be speaking to business automation and ERPs, benefits of business automation to your business, and then maybe drill down a bit further to introduce everyone to what Odoo is. So because of this particular series, we have a drill down on FMCG and QRS context, but I've seen the room and I'll try to also expand to other areas as well. And then we can have Q&A sessions after the presentation / demo. Okay, so great. So the first thing most people typically will tend to ask is just taking it from where Chiagozie has spoken about business processes and making sure that we document our business process. Is that enough in today's era, in today's climate, to conduct business? I'm sure most of you will agree with me that it's really not enough, right? So where does business automation come in? What is it, right? So essentially, business automation is the process of just using technology, right, to encompass all your physical processes that you do today in whatever business that you do today. It's simply just automating that process, right, to make sure that it is much more efficient, right, and is to improve, your productivity, visibility, and overall efficiency for your business. To relate to this in a very simple term, right? There are basic things that we do today. Let's say we have a small shop where we go to buy our daily retail needs, for example, right? Today, maybe that person uses maybe a calculator to calculate the goods. The person goes to the market, has an idea of the type of goods or products that the person has purchased, right? But they just write it down, right? What then happens if, for example, that book is damaged or that book gets missing? What happens? The person will not be able to access the history of what they've purchased, how much they purchased it for, right? So that can become challenging for them, and that's where automating your business process comes in, because in terms of your record keeping, in terms of making sure that you are efficient, you already know how much this costs, where your margins are, how to improve as a business owner or an entrepreneur. So that's where business automation comes in, and there are various ways or avenues you can use to automate your business. We have business process automation, we have robotics process automation, which is a bit more advanced and we can treat in other series. And then you can also have AI-powered automations as well, right? So it's all encompassing, really. Now, drilling down to the reason why we need to automate our businesses, as I mentioned, right? You want to be efficient, you want to be within your cost means. The Nigerian economy at the moment is pretty steep. And you would agree with me that a lot of businesses do not want to waste unnecessary costs, in terms of achieving their strategic goals or objectives, right? They do not want to, have, high costs wastage, right? And they want to be able to save time and carry out their business activities in an efficient manner, right? So the tools you can use to carry out, businesses in an efficient manner is what we refer to as ERPs. What is an ERP? It simply just means Enterprise Resource Planning System. Now, an Enterprise Resource Planning System is an integrated software or an integrated tool that is used by an organization to capture the full end-to-end management of their day-to-day activities. What does this mean? in any organization, in any sector or subsector, in any industry, there are basic things that you would do as a business. So for example, you would have sales functions, right? Your sales could be sale of a physical product. Your sales could be sale of a service, right? You would have sales, right? And then you would also have some sort of procurement. So you could be procuring a service, or you could be procuring physical goods, either as raw materials to, help you to process your finished goods, or procuring goods, for admin use within your office and whatnot. At the end of the day, what every business owner or what every entrepreneur is primarily interested in is, how is my business doing? The simple plus and minus of your business, which means, am I making a profit or am I making a loss? How are you able to capture this, and how are you able to make all these different components within this automation vehicle move in that manner? That's where a tool like Odoo helps you, right? Odoo helps you to demystify, the gibberish around, what you are doing in terms of your customer relationship management, sales, point of sales, procurement, and a host of all other modules, which we'll get into shortly. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of Odoo? I think I touched on some of that, but my slide or my presentation is specific to the food industry for now. But really, it touches across all sectors, right? So, increased production efficiency, for example, right? Everyone wants to be efficient. In today's market, if I turn on my gen, right, what is the maximum capacity I'm able to produce, or what's the maximum output I'm able to use for my business when I'm powering my gen on diesel, right? I want to be able to make sure that I can track right down to that granular level. As a business owner, I want to be able to track to see that I am maximizing, my business in an efficient manner, in a cost-effective manner, right? And I'm reducing as much as possible, waste, right? For the food subsector, right, you have improved food safety and quality. Now we have quality modules on Odoo that help you to go through, your quality process as well for the food guys, right? But even beyond that, there's different applications to other sectors. So for example, in your mining and construction sector, right, you have quality implications. In your oil and gas sector, you have quality implications. Even in your retail or your smart goods sector, right? People that sell, devices, right? You have quality that you always want to keep to, right? And a system like Odoo can help you to, keep track of that and make sure that you have the correct records or views of those type of things. Improved inventory management, as I mentioned, right? A lot of people do not know their inventory at the moment. So what is my stock? Inventory is stock, right? So what is my current stock at the moment? What's the valuation of that stock at the moment? Who owns that stock, right? How much is the value of that stock, right? For perishables, people in quick service restaurant businesses now, you have perishables, for example. How am I able to see, when my stock is going to expire? Or is it going to expire? How good is it? So systems like Odoo help you to manage that process. And then you have enhanced traceability, right? Traceability, just helps in terms of business visibility. As a business owner, you have to be in meetings, you have to jump on a plane and get to somewhere to try and score a deal. You have people that you've left at home that are managing the business, right? How are you able to see what they are doing, right? Without having to unnecessarily call your business manager or business supervisor, right? A tool like Odoo will help you to achieve, visibility, and then enhance traceability. So traceability in the sense that at every point in time who did what on the system, right? I'm sure in all our businesses, or maybe with interactions with our colleagues or industry people, you oftentimes will come across situations or scenarios where whenever you're carrying out an audit within your business, right, there might be some gray areas where your auditor is asking you who did this or who did what, and nobody is able to effectively give you an answer. A system like Odoo would give you that answer, right? And I would show as well. Then you also have your increased flexibility, right? So there are certain, professions that, prior to our COVID time or prior to the introduction of business automations, you probably have to be in your office 80 or 100% of the time, right? Tools like Odoo help you to take your business from the physical paperwork that you have to do in the office to a virtual office where you have the records and supporting records of everything that you might need in order to carry out, transactions as well. And then because of that visibility, you are then able to reduce labor cost because you are then able to tell, what is efficient and what is not efficient, right? And then obviously, because of your efficiency, you are then able to deliver premium or better customer service to your customer or your clients. And then you have overall business efficiency. Now, what is the product? What is Odoo? Right. So Odoo is an open source ERP system that covers, all your business modules that you can think of in an integrated manner. Keyword here is in an integrated manner. Remember, I made reference to a vehicle. Within a vehicle, you have different components, different parts, right? So let's take, for example, the tires. The tires are part of a vehicle. If you do not have a tire, can the vehicle move? I do not think so, right? Now, what Odoo helps you to do is Odoo helps you to aggregate all those different business components, right? In such a way or in such a manner that you are able to efficiently perform like a vehicle, right? You're able to move to your business destination as a vehicle. And that's a very, very unique proposition that Odoo has. Keyword on integration, right? There are other systems that you have in the market as well, and I have, implemented some of those systems as well, right? A key differentiator that you would see between a system like Odoo and other systems like that is integration, right? Recall that I mentioned that, for every business owner, at the end of the day, you want to be able to see what is my P&L, profit and loss, right? Am I making a profit or am I making a loss? A business executive will not have time to be drilling down into your procurement lines or your sales lines, right? All they want to see is the summary. How does everything relate, right? The relationship between your sales and your procurement and your inventory, for example, right? The mother point is in your accounting module, right? Because it's in your accounting views that you're able to account for what did we sell, what did we buy, what is the value of our inventory, right? So there's that marriage or that relationship between each and every of these modules. And that's a very, very unique proposition that Odoo gives, as well. And it's relatively cheap as well, vis-a-vis the quality of service that you receive from them. We'll get to see that, as we go through the presentation. Now, sometimes people will ask, oh, where is it hosted? Oh, I hear Odoo is an ERP, right? So it's a software, right? Okay. So if I wanted to have Odoo, how can I get it? Right. So there's different variations to how you can get it, right? So Odoo runs an Odoo online service, right, which is pretty much straightforward, right? They deliver this service as part of your package when you're purchasing the module or modules that you require for your business. So there isn't much customizations, required at this point. So it's aimed at really small businesses or small enterprises that, would have, standardized processes across their business, right? You typically just want to have a place online where you can host your data or host, information about your business. And it is hosted in a secured manner as well, right? Because that's very important. In today's world, you have, different questions and different concerns around your data privacy, how is my data protected, right? So in the traditional approach, most people will say, oh, I want to host on premise, maybe depending on the sensitivity of the data or depending on, who you want to have access to that data. But with Odoo Online, for example, you have the same type of restrictions without having to take on the additional cost that an on-premise system would, typically warrant you to have. And then you have Odoo SH, which is essentially an enterprise edition of your Odoo online cloud, right? So for your Odoo SH, you can use custom modules, you can plug in third-party applications, and this is typically given to the enterprise deployment. So Odoo has a distinction between your community version and your enterprise version. Your community version can be referred to as, the version where you want to take care of small businesses, small shop, small kiosk, a bakery, right? You don't have too many hands, working with you, maybe 5 to 10 people. The cap is 30, the cap is 30 people. So between 5 and 30 people, you want to have a community version where most of, your key modules like sales, procurement are free, right? So you have the ability to do that. But the difference between that and your enterprise version is in terms of the guarantees that Odoo as an organization will give you in terms of support services before your purchase, during your project implementation, and post-project implementation, support services in terms of your cloud servicing and priority cloud servicing, additional key modules like your accounting module, which is very important for businesses, because at the ending of the day, everything around the business revolves around your profit or loss, right? So you need to be able to have your accounting module as well. And then, we then have, your on-premise as well. I think on-premise is pretty explanatory, but just to surmise on it again, on-premise is where you will be hosting your software on your company site or in your office, right? Again, you need to have your hardware that can also work with this. So that's how we host Odoo. Now, what type of devices can we operate on Odoo, right? Really, any laptop, any phone, because Odoo is also mobile, right? You can have that on your laptop, tabs, phone, and then they have an Internet of Things box, particularly for your retail services, right? So your Internet of Things box helps you to connect to multiple devices or multiple appliances, such as your till machine, your barcode scanner, your POS printer, your scale, so the Internet of Things box helps you to do that, right? And then you can connect normally as you would to any app on your phone or on your laptop or on your tab as well. Now, in terms of streamlining it to, the FMCG sector or your quick service restaurant sector, right? There are key things that, are priority for these businesses. And what I'll try to do here is just to, speak, broader as well, because beyond your QRS, services, right? You can enhance your productivity in those key or particular areas that revolve around your businesses, right? So anybody in FMCG sector or anybody in, a sales or services sector, you make sales, right? If you're in the FMCG or QRS sector, you produce or you make your food. I go to a restaurant, I want to buy maybe rice and chicken, for example. That rice and chicken, was made in the kitchen, right? How are they able to track, the cost of a plate? How are they able to, allocate resources into making that plate of rice that I want to order, right? How are they able to say, oh, this is how much it cost me to make this plate of rice. This is how I can pay my staff that run, in that restaurant. Your quality control, your customer services as well, right? In terms of providing you, real-time data and insights, you remember, in a system like this, when you put in information, when you put in data, right, you are able to, make sense of the data. You're able to look at the data, analyze the data, and get insights on that. Now, that's where people like myself come in to help businesses, right? So we help to, come into your business, understand your business, help you to document your business process, because that's the first step. Like Chiagozie said, right? A lot of people have their processes in their minds, but how do you interpret that process to the next person, so that in case you are not around, yes, you are the business owner, you know how to do the business. It is your business, you know how to do it, right? It's a proven system that works for you. But how are you able to translate that learning or that knowledge to the next person that works with you in such a manner that when you are not around, your business will carry on as usual, right? So it usually starts from your business process documentation, and then you look at the automation process. And that's what, people like myself, and the team help, businesses to do, okay? And then we tailor a solution to your business. It doesn't really matter if it's, in the food service or FMCG or mining and construction or oil and gas, right? Or healthcare, right? We will tailor it to you. That's the type of system that Odoo is, right? So I'm not going to touch on this because, they're just add-ons to what I've already said originally, right? But we'll show more of how the system works in the quick demo that we'll be going through. So I've already mentioned that we work with, our inventory system. We have a point of sale system. Now, keep in mind, the point of sale system is not like your POS machine that we use to collect, cash. But again, it has, parallel lines of similarity, I should say, right? But I will explain to you, what that means as well, right? So a key end-to-end process, for food businesses or FMCG businesses, right? Or really any business in the agricultural sector is your supply chain, right? You do not want to run out of stock because you serve your customers, right? So how are you able to manage that end-to-end process, right? Systems like Odoo will help you to manage that, right? So typically you want to purchase your raw materials, right? You would store your raw materials. Perhaps you would manufacture your raw materials. When you manufacture your raw materials, customers will come to purchase the end product that you have manufactured. When they make a purchase, which is a sale that you are making, right? When a customer buys from you, right, you probably want to deliver that item to the customer. So either the customer comes to you to pick up or you go to deliver, right? So you will deliver that. And then you have stakeholders. Who are your stakeholders in between this process that I've described for you? You have your employees, you have your vendors, you have your customers, right? You have your prospective customers, right? Those are people that you also want to keep track of, right? Because you will manage them from being prospects to actual customers. So you want to also be able to manage those type of people as well. Okay, and you want to be able to keep a record of those type of people as well. So systems like Odoo will help you to do that, right? So I'm just going to quickly skip through this because it's pretty much the same thing. And then I know some people have been thinking, okay, how does it help me financially, right? So in terms of managing or tracking your sales and purchases, like I described to you earlier, right? What's the cost? What's the cost of my operation, essentially end to end? Right? What's the cost of my operation? How much revenues are accruing to me as a business? Your accounting module in Odoo helps you to do that. For guys that manufacture, you want to keep track of your manufacturing costs. Recall that giving you that analogy of, okay, I have a diesel power generator. I want to be able to make sure that if I have to turn on my diesel generator, I am maximizing the output in my factory, or I am maximizing the output in my office, right? Things like that. Okay. Now, how much does it cost? How much does Odoo cost? Right. So there's two ways. There's two things you should keep in mind in terms of Odoo pricing. Right. Now you're seeing that you have for startup, if you want to do an Odoo online just free test, it's free. You can get on this. You can get on the Odoo website, and it's an open information, hence open source. Right. As against maybe other competitors that you have out there in the market, right, that are a bit more closed source, which means that there isn't a lot of information that you're able to get by yourself, unless you speak to an expert or unless you speak to a certified consultant on those things, right? There isn't a lot of information you're able to get to help you determine if this system will be a good fit for your business or not, right? But Odoo, is the opposite because there's information out there, right? So you can choose to subscribe for a standard user license per month, at $7.25, or a custom system, which most of the time enterprise businesses will go to, at either per month or annually, right? So you're able to toggle. If I want to test it out for a couple months to see if it works on my business, you're able to plan your costing around that. And then your annual costing, obviously you have a discount. So if you look at this 13.60 is per month, right? But if you are on the annual subscription, there's a discount for you as well, right? And then you also have the ability to do your free trials. Okay. Now, beyond that, you also, would then have to speak to experts like myself or like us on the team, right? Where we will guide you through, because it is not enough for you to say, oh, okay, I've sat down in a training, or I've sat down in a seminar where Odoo has been demystified for me, right? I'm just going to go. It goes beyond that. As we've explained to you, you need to understand from the very beginning your process, right? The way you articulate your process, guess what? It could be improved in a better manner, in a more efficient manner than you work, right? And that's where we come in to help businesses. That's where we come in to help small scale, medium scale, large enterprises. They're all the same. That's where we come in to help them to document those processes and suggest improvements to your processes, and then automate those improved processes into the system. Okay. Now, I'm just going to go into our, so quickly, just maybe quick Q&A before I go into the demo proper. All right, so I wanted to just pause to get maybe a few questions, maybe one or two questions before we just go into the demo as well. Is that okay, Judith?
Okay, we can just go right into the demo. Then after the demo, we can take questions.
Great, great. Now, I am on a demo system, right? So this is a demo system, right? And you notice that it has that, mobile phone type feel where you scroll through different tiles, right? So the different tiles are essentially different modules that are all integrated. They speak to each other, right? So on your demo system, I have different, applications, but then again, when we're coming into your business, we will understand your business and then recommend the modules that apply to your business. All right. So I'm going to just take it in a scenario type field, right? So for a quick service restaurant, which is the context of what we are doing today, and then I would also show applications to other businesses because it basically applies, right? I will start off from how do we get in our raw materials? How do we get in our items? So I'll go to my purchase module. One moment. All right. One moment. Okay, just a moment, please. Just trying to get my internet in order. All right. So I'm sharing my screen again. I was asking that I hope everyone could see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen, Mr. Obaro.
Great, great, great. Now, when you get into the purchase module, for example, right, you have menus and sub menus, right? So you have menus that help you to manage things around your request for quotation, your purchase order. If you have blanket orders, you're able to manage that. You are also able to manage a list of your vendors, right? So when I want to purchase something, who am I buying from? I am buying from a vendor, right? How am I able to keep track of my vendors? You can do that using the system. So this is just demo information, right? So you're able to capture, your basic information about your vendor. If you have people that work within that vendor organization, you're able to capture their contacts and link them to this particular vendor. You are able to categorize your vendor with something we call tags on the system. So tags is just a very simple way of categorizing your vendors. So in a quick service restaurant type scenario now, for example, you have people that supply you vegetables, for example. You have people that supply you rice, for example. So you could have that drill down categorization as well. And then you have what we call smart buttons. So our smart buttons basically just relate to the different type of activities that I can carry out with this particular vendor. So if, for example, I wanted to schedule a meeting with this vendor, right, I can just go into my smart button and in another module called calendar, right? So your calendar works typically the same way your Google calendar will work or your Outlook calendar will work, right? Now, Odoo has that ability to do an integration between your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar in such a way that everything is synchronized, everything is harmonized, right? And you're able to keep track or keep records of what you've done with this vendor, what meetings did I take with this vendor. If I need to take notes, during that meeting, you are able to do so as well, right? But I digress. Right, you are also able to monitor how many purchases have I done with this particular vendor, for example, and you're able to see the records of those purchases that you've done from this vendor, right? So you have your reference ID, right? So you're able to keep track of that. What is my total purchase from this person? What's the status of this purchase? Are we still doing back and forth in terms of negotiations, or have we accepted this already, right? You are able to have a look on that, okay? So you'll notice that from my vendor view, I'm already taking you through RFQ and purchase order. Now that's the beauty around the system. It is integrated. So let's take, for instance, this PO003. I went through this vendor to see it, but guess what? I can go to my purchase order to see that record as well. So if I wanted to look for that particular vendor, I'm able to filter. So you have a lot of filtering options where you can filter by whatever field that you want to see, and you're able to drill down in that particular manner, right? You can add additional fields to the table or remove additional fields if you want to, okay? You can also group by, say, vendor, for example. I want to look at that Azure interior person that we're looking at now, right? So because I am in purchase order, I'm only able to see purchase order, which is the PO10 that we have. If I go to my RFQ, I'm able to see the PO3 for that particular vendor that we were looking at now, for example, right? So if I go to Azure, I see my PO3 as well. Now, a good thing around this system is that you are also able to manage your approval levels. When it comes to procurement, you do not want your procurement officers just going to buy things without the necessary approvals. So you are able to manage, approval levels. You are also able to manage approval monetary limits. So what this means is that, for your officer now, your procurement officer, you can allow your procurement officer to purchase anything up onto the tune of, say, 50,000 naira, for example, right? If it's a procurement item of like 50,000 naira, you're really not bothered as a business owner. Maybe they want to buy, consumables for your office. You're really not bothered, right? But when you now start to get to capital purchases, like we want to go to the market for the month to buy our raw materials or our ingredients, right? Or to go buy stock. We want to go buy stock. Say we want to buy stock of about 2 million or 5 million naira, for example, right? You want to be able to have multiple approval levels. The system can help you to manage that, right? And you can configure those approval levels as per your business, okay? Now, you'll notice that on this My View, you see that you are able to also have a summary view, just a quick summary snapshot of everything that's going on. So whatever view I go into, whether it's the purchase module or sales module or any module, really, you're able to have a summary view of what is going on. So quickly, you can see that you have 9 RFQs to send. You have 10 that are late. What's the average order value? You have this, what have you purchased in the last 7 days? This is the total value. You are also able to switch between views, right? So currently we are on our list view. And you're able to see all of this. You can also assign activities. What does activities mean, right? I could schedule an activity to say, okay, place a call to this vendor. What do I need to do? Is it a to-do? Do I need to schedule a meeting with this vendor? Do I need to upload a document to support this, procurement request? Do I need to assign it to somebody? When do I want it to be due? You can schedule an activity with that particular record. And, this feature cuts across, your sales, procurement functions, and most of your functions that you typically have, on the system. Okay. Now, a key thing that you're able to also manage, and this is very essential for every business really, whether it's QRS or whether it's oil and gas, whether it's healthcare, you're able to manage your items. For procurement, you are essentially buying something. What are you buying? You are buying a product. How you classify that product is important, right? So I could group by my product category, for example. Right. For my product category, I want to be able to view. I want to be able to view it. This is a Kanban view where I can scroll to the right and see, or if I wanted to view it in a list view, I'm able to toggle between, my preference. So I want to look at food items, for example, right? I can look at the items that I have on here. Okay. And then if I wanted to just see a list of all my products, I can just unfilter everything and I can see the total list, right? So on this view, I'm able to see 1 of 80, but my total product view now, for example, is 104. If I wanted to see the whole 104 of 104, I can do that on here as well, right? And I'm able to see the full list of everything, right? So let me search for a sample. Let me search for a sample product and show, for example. Now, for my items here, right, I'm able to go into a product. I'm able to classify or properly configure that product. So this product now, for example, is what we want to sell at our backend. So I can say, oh, I can sell this. Do I purchase this or do I manufacture this? You're able to give those attributes. You're able to distinguish what type of product this is. Recall that I had given an inference earlier around what type of product do I have as a business, right? So if I am a farmer, for example, right, if I want to buy items, I typically will be buying my raw materials, in quotes, right? My raw materials can include my seedlings. It can include my pesticide. It can include my cutlass. It can include my hoe, right? Do I want to keep track of those items? Yes, I do, right? So if I wanted to keep track of those items, I wanted to be able to account for those items, in terms of the stock of that item, I would classify that as a storable product. Otherwise, right, this service that we are doing, this is a webinar series, right? So this is a service that, assuming we were charging, for this service, right, and you want to log on, it's a service that we are rendering to you. So if I were to classify that service, I would say this is a service-based product. So a webinar series is a service-based product that we do, for example, right? I'm able to visualize those items or visualize those products. It's just a simple upload of the product. You're able to classify in a drill down manner the product category, the categorization, right? We're able to, if there's a barcode for your item, so the guys that do trading, you purchase phones or you purchase hardware, right? You're able to properly articulate for those items. You can input your barcode. If you have a company internal reference, maybe your audit team in your business has an internal numbering sequence that they give, right, for each category of items. You are able to do that here as well. And then depending on the item that you are trying to manage, right? You have ISO certified, unit of measures, right? So there's typically a standardization across board. It doesn't matter where you go to. If you are in the US or in the UK, there's standardization of certain types of units of measure. So for example, for us, if we want to buy gas, we measure in kg, right? We measure in kg. So you can have kg, for example, right? So the classification of all of that is available. And then you'll notice that on my tabs, 1 second, let me just put it back in units. So you notice that on my tabs, I am able to manage something called attributes of variance. So this is just a demo system, so we don't have all of that set up here. But attributes of variance essentially just give a drill down of a particular product. So take, for example, Coca-Cola, right? For my Coca-Cola, I have Coca-Cola bottle, I have Coca-Cola can, I have Coca-Cola plastic. For my Coca-Cola plastic, I have 25 cl, I have 50 cl, I have 75 cl, I have 1 liter, right? So if you wanted to give a detailed breakdown of your product, right, you can manage all of that using the system, okay, right? And then you just have your basic configuration around it. So if, for example, you wanted to sell using Odoo website, we have an interesting module called the website as well. So the back end is integrated with your front end, which is your website, where you can display. So for people that are in the e-commerce space, for example, and you display your items, right, you are able to share that your website link, and any customer can come in, register, the same way you make a purchase online, right? You pick the item you want to pick, you show whether it's in stock or it's not in stock, right? You put in your name, put in your delivery address, and you can specify that, oh, I'm paying on delivery or I'm paying ahead of time, right? You are able to manage all of that with Odoo as well, right? You can also assign your vendors to the particular product that you're trying to configure. So if it's a product that you purchase, you assign your vendors to it, right? If it's a product that you manufacture and you make, right, you are able to also configure appropriately as well, right? So these are just basic configurations around how the product is, right? If I'm making this product, if I manufacture this product now, I will have this checkbox ticked, and it will automatically speak to my manufacturing module to say, for this particular product, we make it, we manufacture it, right? And then obviously you have your accounting side as well, because essentially for every item, recall I mentioned that the paramount thing for any business owner is to ensure that I'm able to account for my profit or my loss. How much am I making? How much am I spending, right? So if I were to purchase this item, obviously I'll be paying for it, right? If I were to purchase this item, I need to be able to account for it, right? So you have your accounting nominals that are assigned to each of these products, and then all of this speaks to your GL in accounting. But I don't want to be too technical, right? So that I keep it as simple as possible. And then the same thing, if I was selling this item, it's the same way. When you sell an item, you expect to receive money, hence receivables, right? So you want to be able to account for it product by product for your business. Another interesting feature that you will see, and you will notice it across board, is our audit trail. So recall when I was saying traceability, you're able to know who did what, when, and where, right? So if, for example, I want to make an update to this item and say this is $17 and I save, right? When I scroll down, who did what? My login name is Mitchell, right? I changed this item from a consumable to a storable item. Recall, I changed this from consumable to storable item. When did I do that? I'm able to see that I just did that now. It says today. So assuming we come in tomorrow now, you're able to see that as well. If I want to attach additional items to this particular product to give it a much more descriptive view, I'm able to attach items if I wanted to, right? If I wanted to log a note, to anybody internally. So for example, I wanted Judith to, add the accounting nominals because I'm in procurement team. I don't know how to set my accounting nominals to my product. I can say, hi, Judith, so I can say for example, let's say Joel. Hi, Joel, please add this, or please do this, right? And you're able to log that information. And you're able to see an audit trail of every single thing that happens. Remember, I spoke about activities. Again, if I wanted to carry out any activities around this, you're able to see this. Now, there's a reason why I explained all of this in detail, right? Recall that I'm still in my procurement module, but you then start to see the similarities when we go into your sales module or your point of sale, for example, right? So you're able to track your item quantities as well. Do I have quantities on hand for this particular quantity? I do not have any items on hand, right? And then if I was manufacturing this item, I am able to assign my bill of materials. So let's say I wanted to manufacture this item, for example, right? I can add a bill of material to this. So bill of material simply is just adding component lines to this item. So let's say we have beef, for example. Even if I don't have beef created, I can easily create a new component item just like that. I've created an item already, right? It's as simple as that. And I'm able to view, oh, for me to be able to make a bacon burger, I need beef, but I don't have items available, right? The system is able to tell you that automatically, right? But I digress. And then as with all the modules, you are able to see your reporting. Reporting is very important to your business, right? So I'm able to see this in graphical view. I can toggle between views, right? If I wanted to look at particular measures, so maybe, for example, I wanted to see, the quantities I ordered or the quantities I received, for example, you're able to toggle between views and hover over this, you're able to see what has happened when, right? If you are a bit more analytical, you can go into the reporting cube or a pivot where you can do your drill down. Again, you can have all the different measures that you want to have, either from this view. So these are pre-configured reports that come in for you, or if you want to add custom filters to essentially drill down very, very detailed, right? You're able to do that as well. You're also able to insert this particular report in your spreadsheet. So there's a spreadsheet module on Odoo. Funny enough, everything is integrated. So by spreadsheets, you don't need to go out of Odoo for you to be able to do a spreadsheet analysis, right? I have a different spreadsheet open here now, for example, but you don't need to go out of Odoo to do further analysis, right? If you wanted to download this report, you can download this report as a spreadsheet as well, right? So those are some of the interesting things that you have on Odoo. Now, we also have our inventory. Now, in inventory, you notice that you also have products. Again, when you purchase, you will get into your inventory and you are able to manage your quantities, right? You can manage your warehouse or warehouses. So these are virtual locations that you want to be able to keep track of. So assuming I run an outlet business, right? In my outlet, I have Bagada outlet, I have Victoria Island outlet, right? The stock that I have in Bagada is different from the stock that I have in Victoria Island, right? So you are able to essentially manage multiple warehouses or multiple virtual locations where you take into cognizance the items that are coming into that virtual location, the items that are going out of that virtual location, the items that you return to that location. If it is a location where I process things or I make stuff, right? You are able to see how many items have you made, right? And then if I sell using a point of sale view, right, you're able to track how many you've sold as well. All right. And then you're able to manage, your normal inventory operations. You are also able to give a reporting on your stock, your moved histories as well. So everything around your stock, you're able to, have a view. You're able to group by, for example, if I wanted to see my product categories, what items do I have in my product categories or product type? If you wanted to group by, quantities or whatever it is, right? You're able to group all of that as well. Okay. Now, we've touched on procurement, we've touched on inventory. Now, the next thing is sales. How do we sell, right? So we can sell using our sales module, or we can sell using our point of sale module. For this instance, I will just go into our point of sale module, right? Again, you notice that you have that view of products because of that integrated manner, because whatever you're selling items, you're selling products, right? So you have that view on here as well. But for my point of sale, I'm able to go into a session. So assuming I work, as a restaurant attendant, I'm able to go into that view, right? If the practice is to give maybe change, they typically will give you change at the beginning of your sales, right? That, oh, I have 1,000. Or if they don't give you, if they don't give you change when you want to begin your sales session, you can go in there, right? You can select whatever items you want to select, right? If there's a particular, preference for the customer, I can say, oh, customer prefers green chair, for example. And for this particular item, right, the specific need or the specific ask of that customer in relation to this item, you are able to process. If I wanted to add an existing customer to this particular transaction that I'm doing, right, I am able to do so, right? Or if I wanted to just make a normal sale to a random customer, I can do that as well. So it's important that, everybody is trying to get data, because data helps you to plan accordingly. Data helps you to, start to see your segmentation as a business, right? You are able to say that, oh, I want to be able to add customers. So if you have your point of sale person, they're able to quickly take quick information. What's the quick information you need? Name, phone number, or email address, right? You're able to do that. Now, there's something called, credit, sales credit. So if you give credit to maybe special customers as well, you're able to also have a look at, more of those information. So just a quick view of this customer, for example, you're able to have quick details or quick information about that customer, and you're able to process your sale. You're also able to specify how the customer paid. When you go into a shop, you want to make payments, you're either paying with cash. Maybe we don't have cash in Nigeria right now, but I hope that comes, quickly. So you're able to pay with cash, or you're able to specify with, bank. What bank? So for companies or organizations that make that segmentation, that, oh, for all our transactions that we use our GTB POS to do.
Hi, Mr. Obaro. Sorry to quickly cut in. I just want to make a couple of announcements because we're running out of time. For everyone, you can just quickly chat in your questions. We're almost rounding up the demo session, and we'll be taking a few questions right after that. So you might want to leave your questions in the chat box in the chat room, and we'll have someone collate the question so that we can go right into the question and answer session within the next 2 minutes. Also, we will be offering a free personalized demo for businesses that are interested in having a more personal experience of models that are critical to their businesses. We have left a form in the chat room, so you can just fill that form. For you to be able to access that free demo, you will need to fill the form. So please kindly go ahead and fill the form as you drop your questions in the chat room. Mr. Obaro, if you do not mind, you can just conclude in the next 2 minutes so that we can, move into the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Sure. Right. So you could select, how the customer is paying. So assuming I paid $100, for example, you're able to see the change that is allocated as well. And then you can validate your payment. And then you can print out your receipt as well and manage your new orders, right? So if I wanted to close this session, I would then need to specify, oh, this is how much I started with, and this is how much I closed with, for example, right? So let me say maybe 927.60, for example, right? Maybe that's what I'm closing with. I'm able to account for the balance as well, okay? So in a nutshell, right, I'm just going to round up here because we've been able to touch on your sales, we've been able to touch on your procurement, we've been able to touch on your inventory, And as my colleague Judith said, right, if you need a personalized session for your business, we're able to treat that, because it's going to be scenario based essentially. So we're able to treat, that as well. Okay. So I will take questions now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Obaro. That was a very powerful session. I'm sure everyone here has already has already experienced the Odoo software just by listening to you. We're so grateful. Thank you so much. Before we start taking questions from the audience, I'm just going to ask you this question. It's something that has, come up every time we've had to engage our clients in the past. These are questions that have come up. The first question is, what is the typical duration to deploy Odoo? Also, what about security? How, businesses are concerned about how secure their data would be on the Odoo app. So number one is, what is the typical duration to deploy the Odoo software? And number two, how secure would our data be on the Odoo software? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Judith. Now, in answering that question, right, there are a few things that you need to consider, right? It is not a one size fits all. So if, for example, I was coming into an organization where maybe they've been operational for about a year, right, the considerations I will give to that type of organization will be different from an organization that's been operating for maybe 10 years, for example, because guess what? In terms of the business maturity, right, there's a clear difference. In terms of their technological maturity, there's also a distinct difference as well, right? So there are certain evaluations that you would need to do before you are able to determine, the typical duration. But I would say to you, on an average, right, you typically could have implementations go from as little as 1 month to as long as maybe 10 to 12 months, depending on, again, the resourcing around such type of organizations. So if an organization, for example, is able to pay for enough resourcing, right, and resourcing is a lean thing that everybody is trying to have that fine margin on, right? So if an organization is able to pay for resourcing, you can have your project in 1 month, so far you're able to pay for it. Or if you're able to manage your lean resourcing and you're able to get your project team in place, depending on that, it could average 3 months, it could average 6 months, so it all just depends, and you typically will treat on a case-by-case basis. And then in terms of your security, I think I addressed that earlier in the presentation, right? So Odoo is a cloud-based platform. So sort of like the same way you have other similar platforms out there like AWS or Azure, for example, right?
Okay.
You typically would have, your security. There's usually the security protocols that you would go through in terms of making sure that, whatever data that you have, is secure. And by the way, you would sign a contract with Odoo directly, right? So Odoo is a Belgian company, right? It's a Belgian quoted company as well, right? And they have presence in every region across the world as well. So it is a standardized organization. It is not somebody that is deploying something from their backyard as well. So in terms of that, you would have your NDAs and your standard contracting that will go through, and you are able to speak to the level of security that you would require based on the platform, the cloud platform that you choose as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Obaro. Before we take other questions from the audience, I'm just going to go right ahead to Mr. Chiagozie Nwizu. Thank you so much, Mr. Chiagozie. That was a very, very awesome presentation on process documentation, and personally, I have learned a lot. But before we go further, I have a question to ask. I'm sure that the question on the lips of many people in the audience right now would be, how do I get started? How do I get started with with documenting my processes? What do I need to know? What do I need to do? Basically, what are the next steps for me from here?
Okay, so for people that are asking questions, I also realized that quite a number of people probably missed that very session where I took time to explain the importance of having a process documentation for a business, and why, of course, process documentation has to come in first before business automation, because you have to automate based on existing process. So where people can go from here would be, I think it's part of what we can take into advisory for, we can provide during the consultation session to advise people who are considering deploying the Odoo ERP. We can, just use that very short time because it's a free session that we're going to be providing. We use that short time to ask a few more questions about what type of process that you have in place. It's very possible you already have an SOP. We would also, just give you an insight on what you probably will be able to do yourself, or if it is such that the work is very so much, would advise you on how you can get some professional help towards getting that done. So I think it's just something we have to take out of this very room because people have various needs and at various stages of their business documentation. So my advice would be take advantage of that free consultation session. If you provide us with your details, we'll be speaking with you further on that.
Okay, thank you so much. And one more question for you, Mr. Chiagozie, would be, what I understand initially at the beginning of the presentation, you made mention of FBDS as an organization that also helps to provide some of these services. So I would like to ask, what support structures does FBDS have in place to help businesses who would like to kickstart their process documentation? What support structures does FBDS have in place to help them, do that?
Okay, so our support structures are what we say is largely advisory. We provide, I can also see from the charts that people have shared so far that businesses here are at different stages. We have support for businesses that are still startups at startup level, where you are looking at venturing. It is a very right practice that if you are in the US and you are setting up a business, what usually you have in mind is what happens to my business in the next 5 years. That's the usual mindset. Am I going to sell this business in 5 years? Am I going to franchise it out in 5 years? Or am I going to keep growing it because I want to build a legacy, a family business? Go and check. These are always the three things that people have in mind. So it's always good from the start to have a plan. What you want to do in your business, how far you want it to go, how you want it to grow. So if you are still at that very level, yes, we can provide you that very support. I also see that most of the businesses that are here are businesses that are at growing phase, right? Not necessarily, startups. Our support will be largely around, like I said, helping to advise you on how you need to have your business well documented, put processes in place, and also to have it automated. And it's not something that's going to cost you a lot. So that you don't go ahead and make a lot of mistakes in line with some of the challenges of not putting processes in place, which I mentioned when I was talking, taking all of the risk and the costs and the wastes that comes from having to slap dash through your business process and not having continuity and all of that. So I'll just leave it at this.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Chiagozie. Mr. Obaro, over to you. There's someone from the audience asking, can Odoo integrate with a third-party application like SAP Business One?
Okay, yeah. So to answer that, Odoo can integrate to third-party systems. It's an open source system, right? Now, SAP Business One is a subset of another ERP system called SAP, right? So depending on what you want them to speak to, yes, there's integration possibilities, but you would, as with all integrations, you would need to review what data you are calling from one system to the other, so that you're able to properly map and integrate such systems together. But the short answer to that is yes, you are able to integrate Odoo with just about any system. And that's the key difference with Odoo and other systems. So for other systems like SAP Business One now, for example, the ease of integration will not be as smooth because it's a closed-end system. It's not open source, it's closed source. So those are some of the things that you need to consider.
Okay. Mr. Peters also asking, is Odoo immune to bypass of its traceability capability? Can it be used to track products in checking the pilfering of items? I don't know if you got that. Would you need me to repeat?
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Peter. Now, you are asking if it is immune to bypass of traceability function. So maybe a bit of context into the industry that you work in would be nice. But essentially, for your product management, right, once you have your traceability functionality on, right, you are able to monitor end to end from the point where that particular item comes into your inventory up until the point where it is sold, in such a way that if you want to be able to track recalls, so maybe if you were in other clients, recalls are not typically popular here in Nigeria, but if you wanted to track recalls, you would usually track it using your batch number or your lot number, right? So in terms of tracking, you are able to do that. Now, when you say bypassing the traceability capability, I would say that you can't bypass it. But again, as with all systems, and this is not even relative to Odoo, right? It is what information you put into the system that you would be able to essentially work with. So if at the point of purchase you input the right parameters, of course, you'll be able to track all of that end to end. And then that way you're able to very much check to see if there's any variance, right? And that's the whole point of the system. It's supposed to be able to call out, those type of variances. So if I purchase 10 items and then there's a variance with sales, right? So if I'm checking physically, if my customers tell me, or if my salespeople tell me that, oh, I've sold 10, but you can only see 8 recorded on the system, there's a variance. So you're able to, track that as well. I hope that helps, Mr. Peter.
Yes, we'll just, because of time, we'll only be able to take one more question. But like we already mentioned, we understand that you have tons of questions that you need to ask that are also peculiar to your business. So just for us to be able to answer your questions within the context of your business, we would like you to just fill the form and we'll schedule a consultation with you where you can also get to experience if another free demo of modules that are peculiar to your business. Would also be answering your questions in that particular consultation session. We'll be sharing the link again, so you can just kindly fill that form and leave us your contact details and we'll get back to you. So one last question for you, Mr. Obaro, is, okay, I guess you already answered that, but just for the sake of the audience to hear you, are there companies in Nigeria currently using Odoo?
Yes, there are quite a number of companies using Odoo in Nigeria. As of my last check, formally and informally, I think we have over 100 companies using Odoo in Nigeria that I can readily verify, but definitely the number is more than that. And that number spans across your enterprise businesses and your community businesses. So yes, there's quite a lot of companies using Odoo in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you so much.
If you don't mind lending a voice to that, I know that Odoo had celebrated certain organizations that have been able to deploy just on an annual basis 100 Odoo licenses. There are organizations that have been celebrated by Odoo in Nigeria, not one company, in just 1 year. So I'm sure Mr. Obaro is talking about his own personal experience. Organizations that are using Odoo in Nigeria are in their several hundreds, there are just a whole lot of them. I'm also aware that a particular subsidiary of Dangote Group is using Odoo, currently. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We can't thank you enough, our very dear speakers. You've heard it all. You've heard it all from the experts themselves. I mean, there is nothing else. We've basically just expounded this entire Odoo package to you. This is something you'll be getting at very high cost if you were to be paying for this webinar. But at FBDS here, we care so much about your business, and that's why I've decided to bring this to you at no cost at all. We also have several other packages you can benefit from. So I'm still saying this again, kindly fill the form that has been shared now in the chat room so that we can reach out to you with our other packages. At FBDS, we can help you deploy the Odoo software. Just, of course, you've heard everything that has been said. And if you want to take that leap, you know, to automating your business and boosting your profitability, boosting your efficiency, Odoo is the software for you. And at FBDS, that is what we're very skilled at doing. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending the Odoo webinar.